You know, Ryan, I've got an idea, man. You got a pail?
Like for water?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so my idea is we go plant a couple of freedom seeds, being environmentally safe since they're green tip, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll sprout some bullet trees. Hey everybody, Clint here with Classic Firearms, coming at you guys today with another video that's kind of a versus video. Same caliber, but two different styles of bullet. We've got 5.56 M855 and also 5.56 M193. And, well, which one's better? And maybe for what better application is the two bullets? Let's talk about it some. And yes, this is a discussion. I want to hear from you guys down below. So first off, let's talk about the M855 green tip, because a lot of people look at this guy and it's marketed to be a penetrator round because it has a steel penetrator, a steel core, so therefore it can like penetrate everything. It can just keep on going and going and going, right? Not necessarily, no. It's still just a 5.56 223 cartridge, right? Well, 5.56. But, you know, it's definitely a very capable and effective cartridge, and it's still what we're issued today. I'm still actively serving in the Marine Reserves. Sorry, First Sergeant, for not shaving. And, you know, this is the cartridge that we are issued. Now, however, overseas, there's actually a different cartridge that's being issued for the in theater or active combat zones, and it's actually a steel tipped cartridge. Look into that. But we're not talking about that guy. We're talking about the 62 grain cartridge that you see right here. First off, grain. Grain is just another measurement of weight, or another unit of weight, and because we can't really deal in ounces with cartridges this small, we nicked it down to grains. M193 is a 55 grain projectile versus 62 grain projectile, and that's what we've got on the M855. A little bit higher velocity coming from this guy. The M855, for instance, is coming in right around 3,000 feet per second, where the 55 grain is coming in closer to 3,100, 3,200 feet per second. So still definitely fast movers for sure. And of course, as you increase in grains, like we've got some 77 grain X-Tac over there, that slows it down a little bit. Think about a heavier projectile, right? But very close to the same amount of powder. So that powder is having to work a little bit harder to move a heavier projectile out the barrel and down range. Cool, right? So first off, one question I sometimes get asked is, if it is legal to hunt with 223 5.56, is the green tip a good hunting cartridge? My personal opinion is no, I do not think so. You want something a little bit more maybe soft, hollow point, something that's not going to fringe as much, something not as frangible, because when you think about biting into something, I know you can think about shot and whatever else, but if I'm biting into something that got hit with frangible ammunition, you might want to be careful and chew nice fine pieces. But anyway, I would find something that is made specifically so for hunting. Now this, it's not a kind of a joke about depends on what you're hunting, but like I said, we're issued this in the Marines, right? So anyway, this guy right here, the M855 penetrator, what exactly is it penetrating? So let's go ahead and think about everybody's ideal situation, or not ideal, actually the very exact opposite of that. In a home defense situation, is 5.56 223 going to be an effective cartridge in that situation? I think so, yes. But it also depends in your environment. If you are in an apartment building, you are going to be concerned about over penetration. Now granted, a lot of apartment buildings also too have firewalls, which are typically concrete, things like that, and I would feel a lot more comfortable in that type of situation. But let's say you're out in the suburbs, but you're still in a neighborhood, you don't have that firewall that might protect you in a sense. You just have, well, pretty much some plywood, and you know, that's really about it when it comes to what your house is made out of. Then again, it could be brick, whatever. But the thing is though, you do have to worry about over penetration with the 5.56 cartridge, which I believe is still, again, a great cartridge for home defense and whatever else it might be, real world application, I guess. But you also have different types of ammunition you can use. You can use, again, hollow point, soft point, also frangible ammunition in this case, because then you don't have to worry about it penetrating as much because it starts to disintegrate a lot sooner, right? But when it comes down to these two guys, which one's going to penetrate deeper, right? Well, naturally, this guy here having a steel core is going to penetrate deeper, right? So one thing I have noticed at the range, and especially shooting within 25 yards, which we do often, out of a 16-inch barrel, something I notice is the M855 on our AR500 steel targets, they actually don't pit as bad as the 55 grain do. What I mean by that is, if you look at the actual indentation where the bullet has made impact on the steel target, you'll notice the M855 doesn't penetrate it as bad as you would think 55 grain would. And I think there's multiple reasons for that. And again, this is just my observations at the range. The 55 grain is moving faster. Even though it's not a whole lot faster, it's still moving faster, and you've got such a fine point, right? Both of these, obviously 5.56, have that fine point. But whenever that energy is all focused into one small point like that, you're gonna notice quite the divot on those targets, which is what we've seen. This guy moving a little bit slower, even though it has that steel core, that copper jacket's gonna shred. And then if that steel core is actually a softer steel than what it's making impact into, well, the heavier steel is going to win. And I believe that the AR500 armor that we're shooting at, or that steel plate, is a heavier steel, a harder steel than what's actually the steel inside the M855. Kind of cool stuff, right? Science and things. So pretty neat. However, I will say that through other barriers, because that's what this cartridge is all about, is penetrating through different barriers out there. Like if you are trying to get through a cinder block wall or whatever else you might find, you know, in a combat scenario, then yeah, I would totally want to take this guy out and not this one, because this will naturally disintegrate quicker. All it is a copper jacket around a lead bullet, and that lead, we all know, is a very soft metal, will start to deform and crumble once it starts, you know, hitting objects harder than what it is, or even just hitting softer objects, it'll start to degrade, all right? So pretty interesting, but ultimately I think they're both great cartridges, and if it really comes down to it, which one is better? Well, again, it depends on your application. The weight of the round isn't so much that you're gonna notice a difference over a long period of time. If you're having to hike around with a bunch of ammunition on you, 62 grain versus 55 grain, it's not gonna make that much of a difference. However, if it was 150 grain, like a 7.62 NATO versus a 62 grain, you would notice a difference over a period of time, and that's essentially why the 7.62 NATO was phased out as the standard service rifle, like we saw with the M14. I know that's an M1A behind me, but also the reason we went to the M16 5.56, more rounds, lighter, that kind of fun stuff, right? When we shot with our friends at Premier Body Armor, we talked about the penetration capabilities of the M855 versus the M193, and how, well, it's speed that kills. Remember that, velocity, right? So if you got yourself a 20-inch barrel and some M193, that 55 grain bullet's gonna come out and vibe check some body armor out there. If it's rated, you know, even level 4, which is rated to stop 30-06 armor piercing, believe it or not, it's gonna come out there and start defeating it, or actually degrading it to the point where it's no longer effective, right? However, steel ammo, if you notice, again, it's about what's moving fast. Steel ammo on, you know, a steel target, again, that steel core that I'm talking about in here, if that body armor is actually harder than what this steel is, it's gonna defeat it all day, every day, and for multiple hits as well. When it comes down to ceramic plates, things like that, of course, ceramic, it's great at stopping the projectile, but it can be a multi-hit for sure, as we showed with our Guard Dog body armor panels. Those are level 4 plates, and that thing took quite the beating, but you guys saw how it started to crumble once, 300 Win Mag did it in, but still stopped the bullet, which is pretty cool. So M855 is great for certain applications, same thing with M193. Just wanted to take the time today and kind of discuss the differences. So when it comes down to everyday real world use and why it's still issued in the United States military, M855 is definitely a go-to choice and a great projectile. M193, still very good. I would say within about 100 yards or so, you're still got that velocity and everything that's just that the M855 won't have. So if you want something a little bit quicker shooting, then the M193 is all day for you, all right? But anyway, like I said, this is more of a discussion though. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments section. What do you prefer? 193, 855, something else like 77 grain Sierra Match King, I don't know. But also too, it really depends on what you're using it for. Like for instance, the Sierra Match that I have over here, PMC, again 77 grain, but this is 223 XNs and this is 223, which we've had our class about the differences on those guys. There we go. and that's this guy here. Comparing it to the 55 grain, it definitely actually feels heavier, which is kind of neat. And there's your two differences. If you guys want to see a head-to-head, you know, maybe the 77 versus the 55 versus the 62, let me know down in the comments, and maybe we can actually do a little bit of accuracy testing and things like that at distance with these guys. I think that'd be pretty fun, actually. So let me know down in the comments section what you guys think is the best for which application. For home defense, what do you think is the best cartridge? For hunting, what is the best cartridge? For United States military, well, they seem to think they've got the best cartridge, but also too, 5.56 might be finding its way out. Oof. Right? So hey, pretty fun stuff. Again, I want to hear from you guys down in the comments section. Last thing I want to talk about, guys, is our current giveaway. And this guy does shoot 7.62 NATO, and it is the DS Arms SA58 FAL style rifle, and it is a beautiful battle rifle. Whew, it's awesome. And it's also too, like I said, our current giveaway. Get your entries in with the EOTech package, magnifier, and holographic sight. You've got your adjustable comb height and length of pull on a side folding stock, which is very nice. 120 round mag, non-reciprocating charging handle, adjustable gas block, and a whole lot of sweetness in this package right here. So hit that top banner. That's gonna take you to a webpage that shows you all the different ways to get your entries. Code word, it's more of a code abbreviation, FAL for obvious reasons. So. All right, guys, I'm gonna end it there. Again, I'll see you guys down in the comment section. Which bullet, which variant do you prefer, 55 versus 62 grain? Yeah, we'll leave it there. God bless you guys, and we'll see you next time at Classic Fire.